Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
I'm very grateful for this opportunity. So I'm looking for the start of my career at Clemson.
Albert Huggins, defensive end from Orangeburg-Wilkinson, newest commitment for the Clemson football team as he made that announcement today. Huggins, considered by some to be the number one prospect in the state of South Carolina this year, joins a stellar class at Clemson that will only get stronger with his addition. And we'll hear more from Mr. Huggins coming up here on Sports Talk tonight. Welcome in on this Football Friday night edition of Sports Talk as we come to you live from Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium here in Myrtle Beach, where tomorrow is the annual North-South All-Star Game, the Touchstone Energy Bowl. This afternoon, completed just a little while ago, we had the skills competition, which was thoroughly dominated by the North, and we'll see if that carries over to the game tomorrow afternoon. Our airtime on our network tomorrow will be at noon. Look forward to bringing that game to you from Myrtle Beach. Back at our studios in downtown Columbia Main Street, it is the pro, Tom Hayes. K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, has a night off, and the state man, Graham Pope, also handling things back at our studio in Columbia. So, pro, the Tigers pick up another big-time prospect in states, and their recruiting has been outstanding this year. Just don't get in a car or a plane with Dabo Swinney right now. Not good luck.
Well, because I guess he was trying to intimate that road rage almost took over, and he wanted to chase the guy who hit and ran. But, Cam Newton and Dabo Swinney just had luck with automobiles this week. By the way,
well, if you haven't heard the news, for those who might not have heard the news, at his news conference today, Dabo said that when they were in Florida yesterday, they got nailed by a hit-and-run driver. On top of that, when they flew back into Clemson on the Clemson plane, when they landed, one of the tires blew out on the plane. So they had a most interesting trip down in Florida and getting back to Clemson. The good news is everybody's okay. Nobody was hurt. But I'm sure the coaches had to be shaken up a little bit by everything that was going on with that.
Yeah, probably the safest place for Clemson, Deshaun Watson, on the operating table today. That might have been the safest place he could have been.
Absolutely. All right. Our phone numbers are 800-956-7266. Love to take your calls tonight here on Sports Talk. We'll talk about Will Muschamp and the latest information we have on that. We'll talk about tomorrow's All-Star game here in Myrtle Beach. Looking forward to watching some of the best players in the state go at it tomorrow. The kickoff here will be at 12:30. These guys are ready to play. They've had a full week of activities on and off the field. They've had a great time, and they want to see which is the better this time around, the North or the South. Talk about all of that, some basketball too. 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. All right, I'm on the Hangout. Bro, you got any major news? Why is this telling me that Hangouts don't detect a camera connected to your computer? I got to reboot this thing again. Hangout doesn't detect. Shoot. Been a busy day for us here in Myrtle Beach. Got up this morning, drove to Orangeburg for the Albert Huggins news conference. It was really a very short event held in the auditorium at Orangeburg Wilkinson High School. A bunch of his friends and students were on hand, family members, of course, and Albert kept it very short, sweet, and simple. He had a brief statement that he made. We'll let you hear what he had to say coming up, but he had a brief statement that he made, and then he got right down to the business of choosing the cap representing the school that he was choosing, and that turned out to be Clemson. All done in about 1 minute and 25 seconds. And then, of course, he stayed around and took a bunch of pictures and did interviews. Fine young man, terrific prospect for the Tigers. Could have an immediate impact. He enrolls early. Dabo Swinney was very excited to get the signed financial aid agreement today, which allowed him to talk about Huggins on the record. And he feels like he could become a great defensive end at Clemson in the years to come. Meantime, South Carolina last night, word came out that offensive tackle Paris Palmer had decommitted from the Gamecocks. This was a long-time commitment, a junior college offensive tackle, a native of Plymouth, North Carolina, who goes to Lackawanna Junior College in Pennsylvania. And for the entire recruiting process, he had been solid with South Carolina. And South Carolina, you would think, gave him everything that he would want, gave him a place with an opening at offensive tackle where he could step right in and play right away, and gave him a place closer to his home in Plymouth, North Carolina, which is over in the Fayetteville area. So it's not a very long ride to Columbia for him, for his mother to come see him play. Those are things that he always said were important to him. But South Carolina did not get into visit with him in the last couple of weeks. Penn State made a concerted effort to recruit him very hard. They were to be in there today. In fact, I haven't had a chance to check. He might have even gone public with a commitment to Penn State today. But this is a 6'7", 330-pound offensive tackle that South Carolina let get away from them. And apparently, they have no one to blame but themselves. They apparently did not do their due diligence and work him hard enough to keep him in the fold.
Well, one of the things is if a player changed his mind, he's going to say that the fault was on the other team. I mean, he wasn't really committed if he's still listening to offers. As I said before, junior college players, they hit or miss. Abu Lamine was kept in the fold, and he didn't show us much this first year. It's a hit or miss. In case in point, they got to find another offensive tackle. But I will say this. For those fans who like to panic, for every Matt Rowland that decommits, you can find a Sky Moore. So there's players out there. You just have to venture to find them. I know people say, well, you had him so long. You never had him because if the kid changed his mind, he's never committed, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but, most kids, well, I won't say most kids, a lot of kids in any given commitment class are still talking to other recruiters and are still looking to take some other official visits, yet they still end up with the school that they were originally committed to. This whole process in recruiting should be changed, and the terminology needs to be changed, because obviously the word commitment doesn't mean anything, not only to the player, it doesn't mean anything to the recruiters, because coaches go right in behind another recruiter who has a commitment from player X, and an opposing recruiter will come in right behind him and recruit him just like he's not committed somewhere else. The coaches don't respect the concept of commitment, so why should they expect the players to respect the concept of commitment?
That is true. And as I said before, and we've said it all the time, Corn, that when a player commits, that only tells the other teams who the enemy is. And they start to, and I know coaches say, well, we don't negative recruit. Well, maybe you don't negative recruit, but you negative suggest. I'll put it that way. Yeah. So.
Well, there seems to be a little bit of panic going on amongst Gamecock fans based on internet comments and things that we hear. They're concerned about, well, that's 4 decommitments from USC's class now, and there's others who are kind of in that in-between position with South Carolina, committed but still looking around. Arden Key, of course, being foremost among that group. They can ill afford to lose him. This could be the result of concern about Steve Spurrier's future. This could be the result of concern about what's going to happen with the defensive staff. Is Lorenzo Ward staying or going? Deke Adams staying or going? Grady Brown staying or going? Kurt Botkin staying or going? These are questions, real or otherwise, that hurt you in recruiting. They may or may not be real questions, but they're certainly used by enemy recruiters to put that doubt in a player's mind that you have and try and turn him away from you. So this is something that South Carolina has got to address probably sooner than later, but Spurrier doesn't appear to be in any panic mode or concerned about anything along those particular lines. I mean, his opinion, if you were to ask him, he'd say, hey, the player doesn't want to come here, let him go, we'll get somebody else. That's great bravado, but if you lose a terrific player and a starter, a potential starter, in an area of need because of it, that's not good.
Well, it's not good, but you can't panic, because I noticed that coaches who panic, they usually commit violations a lot of times, because then they go off on a tangent and try to promise a player something they can't deliver just to get them in the fold, and you don't want that to happen. That's why I said that if a player is really committed, and who was the kid last year that kept up with the defensive staff? I forgot who the young linebacker who said, I'm taking these visits, but I'm committed to you. Well, that kid was committed, and he was truly committed to the team. Other guys who say they're committed is almost like, well, I'm coming in here, I'm coming to the prom with this date, but if I find somebody at the dance that I like better, well, maybe I'll leave the other one standing in the dance line, maybe. And that's why I think that's some kids treat commitments like that. I got a date, but if I find somebody better at the prom, we'll go with them.
800-956-7266 coming up. We're going to hear from Dabo Sweeney. We're going to hear from Albert Huggins, and we'll hear from Jeff Scott as well, as he met with the media today at Clemson. Clemson beginning bowl practice tomorrow, so Sweeney stepped forward to talk about bowl practice and his staff and things of that nature. Jeff Scott, now the co-offensive coordinator, was brought in to speak as well. By the way, state newspaper reporting, South Carolina, of course, has 8,000 bowl tickets that they're responsible for. It's sell them or eat them, and so far they've sold 700 in a little less than a week. So, is that reason to panic now? South Carolina has only sold 700 of the 8,000 tickets it's responsible for the Independence Bowl?
No, because with the money you're getting from the networks, they ultimately eat the tickets, because you wouldn't have that money otherwise if the game isn't televised. That's my feeling.
800-956-7266 is the number. We had an update last night on what we know regarding Will Muschamp and South Carolina. We're trying not to overload you with a bunch of nothing that you see. I'm telling you, the internet sites, and God bless them, they're working hard for their readers, but they need to understand what the word, let's see, what word do they use a lot? What's the word scoop means? Scoop means, and a lot of times they do have scoop. They do have real news, but, scoop, just throwing scoop out there to get people to read something that has absolutely nothing to say, that's unfair to the reader. So we're not trying to overwhelm you with a bunch of nothing. When we do have something, we'll put it out there. And we had a little something last night from what we've been told, and I think the most important part of it was that if Muschamp comes to South Carolina, it will not be as a head coach in waiting. Of course, that's been a major part of the narrative surrounding him. We're told that if he does indeed choose to come to USC, it will be without any head coach in waiting label or any promises the job will be his in the future. We'll tell you more about this story in a moment. All right, just to wrap up the Muschamp information that we put on the website last night, according to what we're told, Ray Tanner's not going to go for any kind of a guarantee thing with Muschamp, and Spurrier wants to be part of picking his replacement. He does like Muschamp a lot. Now, we're told this is not a deal breaker with Muschamp. In fact, we're told people representing him have been in touch with Tanner with specific questions about the job. Now, it was reported today, too, that Muschamp met with the University of Houston about their head coaching job. So that is something that is in play with him as well. But I still think South Carolina's in the hunt. We're told from a South Carolina standpoint, next week possibly it could be resolved one way or the other. And, of course, Auburn looks like they may be slipping in this particular case because they were hoping to name somebody this week, no later than the weekend, and does not look like it's trending in that direction. 800-956-7266. Richard in Manning. Good to have you with us. I went through your fine city today on my way to Orangeburg. How are you?
Well, God bless you, Phil. Doing well. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Well, a couple of things. If I can just touch on the Muschamp thing. Yeah, I kind of figured that would be Tanner's attitude. There's no way he's going to hang himself out there to dry and leave himself no options, with having a coach in waiting. He would never do that. He's smarter than that. But, yeah, from what I understand, Muschamp says that he is not going to make a decision until after all the bowls are complete, too. Have you heard that?
that has been bandied about out there, and I don't know if anybody got that directly from him. You know, almost all the reporting is coming from second and third party people, and so I don't know how much anybody's actually directly talked to Muschamp himself. You know, he was on vacation. Maybe he's trying to lay low through the process and let things play out, but he, you know, if he waits until after the bowl games, that too could work in South Carolina's favor.
Couple of items here. Muschamp has worn that tag before at Texas, and of course he bolted early. He was supposed to be replacing Mac Brown when Mac Brown would retire, but he went to Florida instead. Plus, as we said, there's some restraints on a coach in waiting in recruiting because he is then viewed as the future coach. So there's some some calls, some visits they can't take that an assistant coach can. I think there's a little bit more free range.
Well, he falls under the guidelines of the head coach, which
Yes.
limits you in terms of how many contacts you can have. Otherwise, he'd fall under the limits of the assistant coach, which is much more liberal.
I think the other thing you got to watch out for is in the business of university and college, as far as hiring is concerned. I think some quarters are frowning on that because they want you to have that job at least to be seen as open and do your due diligence and put the offer in the NCAA News and Chronicle of Higher Education, that sort of thing, to at least make it seem that the job is open, but don't have any cut and dried deals where you have a succession for a job like a head football coach.
Hey, thanks for your phone call. We appreciate it. Going to hit the bottom of the hour break coming up. Dabo Sweeney on the other side. We'll catch up with the Tigers head coach, hear what he has to say about his staff and bowl preparations. Albert Huggins coming up, too. We'll be back.
Well, first of all, been on the road the last couple of weeks, really literally since the South Carolina game. Been all over the place. That is for sure. But proud of our team, first of all. obviously, South, that is for sure. But proud of our team, first of all. Obviously, the South Carolina game was it's been a busy but very productive couple weeks, and good to be back home. That is for sure. But weeks and good to be back home. Very productive couple weeks.
It's a football Friday night here in South Carolina. Where else can you get football on a Friday night in mid-December in South Carolina? But right here on Sports Talk, because we are South Carolina's football headquarters. We are in Myrtle Beach for the North-South game, the Touchstone Energy Bowl coming up tomorrow. Airtime will be 12 o'clock. Kickoff will be 12:30. Clemson begins bowl practice tomorrow. Today, Dabo Swinney met with the media to preview that and bring everybody up to date on what's going on with him. His comments brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Speaking of pork, one thing he did while out recruiting, while visiting a prospect, was to feed grapes to the prospect's pet pig. Coaches will do anything to win over the hearts of a prospect. So let's go to Dabo Swinney earlier today at Clemson, talking about being on the road, but more importantly, glad to have that behind him.
Good to be back home, that is for sure. But proud of our team, first of all. Obviously, the South Carolina game was a tremendous way to end our season. Really happy for our seniors and them finishing the year like they did as far as the regular season. Accomplishing something that none of those guys have gotten done at that point in their career. But it was a good year, that chance to kind of reflect and look through, back on the season the last couple of weeks. And, I'm proud of what we got accomplished. I mean, obviously we set out, we came up a little short from that, but we competed our tails off. That is a fact. We prepared hard and well, and we competed, at a high level, and certainly in position to have won every game. But we came up a little short in a couple instances there. But again, our football team is a team that has overcome a lot of adversity throughout the year, especially on the offensive side. Found a way to win some games, some tough games, and we are really excited about the bowl game. This is a great opportunity for us. There's still a lot out there for this particular team. Ready to get started. Really anxious to get back on the field with our guys this afternoon and tomorrow, as they had a week off. And this week they've been back in the weight room and doing some skills and drills, but we have not been with them. So excited about getting back with those guys on the field today. Oklahoma is the sixth winningest program in college football, I believe. So this is a storied program coached by one of the game's best ever, in Coach Stoops. So this is a huge challenge for us. Tough draw for the Tigers, that's for sure. But we're excited about it. It's always great when you have an opportunity to compete against the best of the best. And I don't think anybody will argue with the fact that Oklahoma has been and represents the best of the best. They've been as consistent a program as any program in college football, especially since Bob Stoops has been there. So we look forward to that competition. and get started. If you look at Oklahoma, and I have not really had a chance to really break the film down yet, but really dive into that starting today. But I've seen them some this year, and I know that they're a team that a lot of people pick #1. And you know, the reason that a lot of people pick them #1 is because they got a bunch of good players. And you know, this game is really a few plays. Same thing for us. It's a few plays. A few plays for us, we're 11-1. You know, maybe a break here or there, we're 11-1, 12-0, whatever. I think it's a fine line. And if you look at Oklahoma, they got 2 overtime losses. I think they got another 1-point loss or close loss. You know, they're easily to be an 11-1 team instead of an 8-4 team, and right there in the college football playoff hunt. So this is a very talented football team that we're going to play. They've had some injuries just like we've had, and the quarterback's been down. You know, I know that you know they'll be excited to you know, play us as we will them. But unusual. Everybody talks about Brent. It's a crazy guy. Played Oklahoma forever, and you know, within 3 years of Brent being here, now we got to play Oklahoma. So he's pretty familiar with those guys and their personnel. Some of the guys he still recruited, but not something he's necessarily excited about. You know, that's just kind of part of the business. You're always going to you know, compete with schools that maybe you coached at before or guys that you coached with, you know, as you advance in this profession. Bowl season is critical for us every year. It's always critical to develop your team for next year, and we try to really work hard. And I think that's something that we've done a really good job of, to be honest with you, the last few years is try to develop our team. You know, we want to prepare this year's team to win the game, but we also want to really develop our team and get a head start with those guys who will be coming back for spring practice. And that's a big part of what we do with our bowl prep, and it's going to be fun. We got a great group of redshirt guys, and then some redshirt freshmen that maybe hadn't got as much playing time yet, and a few sophomores. That this is a critical time for them, and it's fun to get out there and really coach those guys. You know, kind of get our work done for the game, and kind of send that varsity group on in and stay out there and really kind of have some mini practices with our JV, as we call it, during bowl season. So I always look forward to that. And then this year, I think it's even more critical because we've got some staff changes, so we've got a chance to really develop our staff and kind of have a little bit of a trial run, if you will, you know, working together in a game day type of environment, a game planning process and a game day execution process, which is going to be very beneficial to us as we get recruiting over and get back into the meeting rooms and, you know, preparing for spring practice. So I think that part of it is critical for us. And then this particular game, there's a ton of opportunity out there for this team. So we're going to do everything we can to put our best foot forward and try to win this game. I mean, that's what we all want to do. We want to win the game. And this is an opportunity for a 10th win for this football team, which it'd be 4 years in a row. And there's only 4 teams out there going into the bowl season that have a chance to have 4 10-plus win seasons. So Alabama, Florida State, Clemson, and I believe Northern Illinois. Man, that would be a great accomplishment for these seniors to be able to take with them and feel good about how they competed during their time here at Clemson. And a chance for them to also get a 42nd win. So great opportunity. We certainly want to finish ranked as high as we can and win the bowl game, and we can get back in that top 15 in 3 years in a row of not only winning our bowl game, but finishing in the top 15. So a lot of opportunity that we'll push forward and trying to achieve. Our team is finishing finals this week, and they've done a good job as far as finding some time to get out there and do some skills and drills as well. Hopefully most of our guys are graduating. I think we're going to have maybe 2 seniors, 3 at the most, that will have to do any work at all in the spring semester, and that'll only be like a class or 2. So the rest of those guys will all have their degree when we line up to play Oklahoma, and that's really exciting and what it's all about. Injury-wise, Stanton Seconder had surgery yesterday on his PCL and had a little bit of, I think, MCL work done too. But he'll start his rehab process right away, and will be out for spring ball. So that's definitely a loss for us there. We'll get him back and ready to go for his senior year. And then Deshaun Watson is having surgery this morning, and obviously there's been a lot of thought and discussion on that. Had we played the next week, we'd go ahead and finish out the season. But as we really kind of evaluated the timeline of where the rehab process, we were going to lose about 3+ weeks.
Dabo Sweeney, who went 44 minutes today in his press conference. If you want to hear more, it's up on our website, sportstalksc.com. He was just starting to touch on the decision to go ahead and have the surgery today with Deshaun Watson. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk. By the way, USC will begin bowl practice on Monday with conditioning, and then the actual on-the-field practices start on Tuesday. They'll go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday without a break before leaving for Shreveport. So they're going to jump right into it and go nonstop until they head to Louisiana. Let's turn our attention to recruiting. The big recruiting story of the day today was over in Orangeburg. Our recruiting report brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperatives, sponsors of the 2014 Touchstone Energy Bowl. It's tomorrow, so come on down. Temperatures are going to be in the 60s. It hit 62 to here in Myrtle Beach today. It's going to be equally nice tomorrow. A great day for football. Come on out and join us at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. Kickoff is at 12:30. Here is what it sounded like as Big Albert Huggins stood up from the table, flanked by his parents, up on a stage in the school auditorium, and he delivered the news of where he's going to school.
It's pretty good morning for me, I guess. It's pretty good. First, I would like to start off. Let me see how I do this. I would like to give honor to my leader, God, and say a special thanks to my mom and my dad, mentor, Coach Brown. I would also like to thank my family, teammates, the coaching staff. I'm very appreciative, and I thank you all. I thank the university and giving me this opportunity to, go to a special college or, go somewhere great. I am blessed. I'm blessed to have such a wonderful, supportive people in my life. I'm very grateful for the start of my career at start my career at Clemson.
Then soon after that, I had a chance to talk with him one-on-one about his decision. Albert, it's the Clemson Tigers for you. What was some of the final things you thought about when you went with the Tigers?
Just knowing Coach Sweeney, Coach Hobby, and all the coaching staff, it's a real good opportunity to fit in and start and have an opportunity to start. So that was a good idea.
So the playing time was a major factor, the opportunity for the chance to come in and get some early snaps.
That's it. That's one of the main reasons too. But education, and just the family that Clemson has, it's crazy. So I want to be there.
Let's talk about the last couple of days for you. You had Coach Richt in here the other day, and then Coach Hobby, I guess, came in this morning. Earlier in the week, what were your leanings? What were you thinking?
They I guess they said the last word, and put everything on the table, and it was just my decision to jump on it or not. Yeah.
Was there ever a point that Georgia was actually in front?
It was at one point, but I went with my heart.
When did Clemson move back in front and obviously stay there?
Probably the in-home visit.
Last week with Coach Sweeney?
Yes, sir.
What kind of things did you learn from him, hear from him that really impressed you and kind of sealed the deal?
It's not really what I've learned, but I just got some questions answered that I really need to get answered, and he answered them for me the way I liked it. So, hey, it went well.
All right, so the debate has been in your recruiting process, will you play inside, will you play outside? What are they telling you?
Coach Harper want me to play DN. And I'm going to make sure that I play DN. If you want me to play DN, if you want me to play D-tackle, hey, it is what it is. But DN right now.
What skills do you bring to the Clemson defense?
Physicality, speed, and just, focus, be focused, leadership. Yes, sir.
Pass rusher?
Pass rusher, it's possible, man. Anything's possible, man.
How much were you influenced by Clemson's history at defensive end, including the most recent one, Vic Beasley?
Mm-hmm. Vic Beasley, he's a great guy. I met him before, when I grow up, I wish I'd be like him. Even Coach Hobby took time out, to, sit him down and, mold him, and did everything else. So that, a great player, go to the NFL, get my degree.
All right, what was the last week like for you as you were trying to finalize this plan? I know that you kind of cut off contact with the media for the most part. You told people to leave you alone on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. Was there a lot of pressure on you?
It was. But at the same time, I enjoyed it. I was just a little, tired of the calls. But it was a good process. I enjoyed it. I really did. And, I'm thankful for it. I'm blessed.
Albert Huggins, who after making his announcement and doing his interviews, well, actually, after he made his announcement, he signed his financial aid agreement with Clemson right there and sent that in to the Tigers. He is going to be a mid-year enrollee. Has 24 commitments for Clemson in this class, including the guys that were being held up. Continue with the recruiting news for tonight. Of course, as we mentioned at the outset, USC has lost a fourth player to a decommitment from its 2015 class. That's a big one. 6'8", 330, Paris Palmer, big offensive lineman out of North Carolina, went to a JC in Pennsylvania. He's finished with that. He's going to enroll at midterm. He canceled an in-home visit with USC offensive line coach Sean Elliott, which was scheduled for this week. And he's not responded to any requests for comment or any confirmation, but it was reported by Gamecock Central in the Big Spur without attribution or corroboration. So apparently this has happened, and the young man is moving on probably to Penn State. That seems to be the direction. That leaves USC with 27 commitments for the class. Now, spoke with Sherrod Pittman of Jacksonville last night, a linebacker, another USC commitment. He said he's 100%, but not ready to shut it down, even though he's a mid-year graduate. He said he might even hold off signing the financial aid agreement until sometime in January. His quote is, "I don't want to sign too early and then might switch my mind up." Florida is back at work with Pittman again, who said new coach Jim McElwain recently followed him on Twitter. He's been in touch with Florida recruiters who were by his school earlier this week. He said he might take a visit to Florida. He said his commitment to South Carolina is still good, but I'm not quite ready to shut it down. I do believe that Steve Spurrier, the elder, and other coaches, Steve Spurrier Jr., I think they were going to be in today or tonight for their in-home visit. Clemson is recruiting now with an offer. Defensive back Michael Jackson of Hoover, Alabama. He has a Miami commitment, and now he's very interested in Clemson. He said, I'm not saying I'm going to decommit from Miami, but I have to rethink about me going to Miami and possibly me going to Clemson. He said they're pushing pretty hard. He said, I hear from them a couple of times a week. He's not taken any officials yet, but he has scheduled one to Miami for January 23rd. He plans to go to Clemson the weekend before that. He's been to Clemson several times for camps. This season, 30 tackles and 2 interceptions. He's playing in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game this weekend. Another Clemson target, defensive back Kareem Orr from Chattanooga, has picked up an offer from Georgia. In baseball, junior outfielder Chris Thompson, 5'11", 145, J.L. Mann, has committed to Clemson. Also considered USC, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, Wofford, the Citadel, Coastal Carolina, Presbyterian. Scouting report on him from Perfect Game says that he is a switch hitter with quick hands, a loose swing from both sides of the plate, and has good speed. And he has committed to Clemson. Chris Thompson, this is in the 2016 class from J.L. Mann. Man, that'll do it for recruiting. Don't forget to check our recruiting out online at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter. Hashtag, yes, I'm giving in. Going to go with the more modern name for the button. Hashtag ST Recruiting will take you right to our recruiting stories and notes. And we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call it at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We are back in Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Friday night. Hope you're having a great night. Looking forward to a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being with us here on Sports Talk, your final word in sports every night here in South Carolina. We're at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium, where some folks are on the field playing lacrosse right now. Don't know the first thing about the rules of lacrosse, but it doesn't appear to be, to me, watching it in person, doesn't appear to be a very difficult sport. I mean, you scoop up this little ball in these little, I don't know what you call them, little nets on a handle, and throw it, sling it towards this net. It's not very wide. I mean, I don't think it's as wide as a hockey net, so you do have to be sort of accurate with your throw, but I don't know if it's a sport. I know it's a sport that's taking off across the state, and high schools are moving towards more and more high schools are moving towards starting teams, et cetera, but I don't know about it. It's too much like soccer to me.
Well, no, it's strenuous, Corn.
Too much running, not enough satisfaction from all the effort.
Oh no,
that's just my approach.
You can score from many different ways, and you can pass with that thing. I had a professor who had moved into Voorhees, and he had been up north, and his sons apparently had gotten into lacrosse, and I held that stick, and that thing is heavy. I mean, to run with it.
Is there a name for it? Does it have a name?
I forgot what the name of it is.
Is it called a wicket? Is it wicket? No,
I don't think so. But
I think I've got that confused with another sport. Maybe somebody out there who's a lacrosse person can tell us what you call the instrument that you use, that you carry around in your hands.
And of course,
sling the ball.
And of course, Jim Brown was an All-American lacrosse player at Syracuse, including a top running back.
Yeah. This baseball note just ran across. Apparently, former USC baseball player Eric Payne has transferred to Virginia Tech, something that was tweeted out today from, I think that's the Virginia Tech baseball Twitter site. So Eric Payne, former Gamecock, headed to Virginia Tech to continue his baseball career. Our lines are open for you, 800-956-7266 is how you can dial us up, 800-956-7266. And our email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at SportsTalkSC. The website is sportstalksc.com. And on Facebook, you can follow us and like us there, Facebook Sports Talk Radio Network. And don't forget, tomorrow, along with our list of network affiliates around the state, the live play-by-play of the North-South game will be streamed on our website, sportstalksc.com. As far as those affiliates go, we're on in Camden, Cameron, Orangeburg, Chesterfield, Columbia, Conway, Myrtle Beach, Florence, Greenville, King Street, Newberry, and Rock Hill, Lancaster. Back in just a moment. We'll hear from Clemson's new co-offensive coordinator, Jeff Scott, who was among those present today at Clemson to talk about bowl practice and, of course, the changes on the Tiger football staff. If you want to jump on the program for a couple of minutes, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Talkback@sportstalksc.com. Let me check out some email that's come in at our website, sportstalksc.com, and our email address, talkback@sportstalksc.com. This is from our good friend Yarkey. And Yarkey asks, with the commitment of Huggins, will that play a major role in defensive lineman Wilkins' decision? Do you think Clemson will be a major player for defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence out of Winston-Salem? Well, I don't know what Wilkins is thinking because you can't reach him, I guess, unless you go up and actually see him in person in Connecticut. He is coming off a visit to Boston College, and I believe he's visiting Penn State. Is it maybe this weekend? There's a dead period that starts as of midnight Sunday. So we're going to go dead here from Monday all the way into January, which of all the rules that they have passed in college football recruiting, to me, that's the greatest rule ever. They started that last year. I can't think of anybody who doesn't like the fact that they take an extended 3-week dead period over the holiday. It gives everybody a chance to take a break and get away from it for a little while. Anyway, back to Wilkins. I mean, Clemson's going to go on him as hard as they can for as long as they can. And I have no clue where they stand with him because neither he nor his coach will take a call or return a message. So I just go by what I see on Twitter there, and I know Clemson is just in the mix. Yeah, and they'll be involved with Dexter Lawrence, obviously, big-time junior in North Carolina. So they'll definitely be all over him as well. Let's see here. What else do we have in the old email box? There's some junk email. Don't want to read that. Let's see here. Give me something good. Here we go. This is posting on the website under the story about Mark Fields and his commitment to USC. And he writes, I wish these recruits would stop listening to the MSM Spurrier haters. MSM Spurrier haters. The same lamestream writers have been pushing the Spurrier will retire this year every year for years. Even when he says he's not leaving, the same Gamecock haters crawl out of their primordial ooze to scribble that he is leaving. Enough already.
Primordial
Well, I mean,
ooze.
you can't blame the media for the fact that Spurrier himself put the word out there that it's 2 or 3 more years. Nobody just made that up. He was asked a question, and he answered it. So he's the one that's put the timetable out there, not anybody else. So if you're going to be mad at anybody, be mad at him. Don't be mad at the media. All right, let's listen to what Jeff Scott had to say earlier today at Clemson. Again, the Tigers getting together with the media to preview the start of bowl practice and also talk about the new assignments on the staff, the co-coordinator situation with Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott handling the duties together. Of course, it will be Tony Elliott handling the play calling. This is something that Dabo Swinney has already said. But here's Jeff Scott, who is giving up his recruiting coordinator duties as well as he moves over to the offensive coordinator half chair. Here he is talking about this new position.
Well, I think it's, for me, it's an honor to be able to move up and have more responsibility. You know, I can remember Tony and I were talking about the other day, about 15 years ago, we were stretch partners at practice. We were teammates here, and we used to stretch each other, and just obviously talking about the future and things. And to look 15 years later, to be able to have the opportunity to be in a position of influence and at your alma mater, it's a lot of pride. And personally, and as a group, and it's also a lot of fun. A lot of our former teammates that we played with at Clemson, to hear from those guys and them reaching out to us how much they're proud that we're having this opportunity, and I think it means just a little bit more than maybe just being a coach at a school that has hired you to do a job, but to have the opportunity to go coach at your alma mater, I know is something that's awfully humbling and very special. And then for me personally, having the opportunity to do this with Coach Special. I have a great relationship and have a very close friendship, and also a very that's important. Anytime that you do something like we're going to do, being co-coordinators, I think it has to be the right two guys. And so I'm really looking forward to that and what we have in the future.
Follow up on that, as Jeff said, man, it's a tremendous honor and a tremendous blessing to be in this position. It hasn't really hit me yet because I think we didn't even get a chance to celebrate with the wives as we were on the road recruiting. But now, as we jump in over the next couple of weeks, I think the magnitude of it will start to really sink in. But it's just a testament to the program and what Coach Sweeney stands for. And one thing that I always value about him is he told you to always be prepared for your opportunity. So in terms of the question about the difference in the role, I think that Chad did a good job of challenging Jeff and myself, over the last 4 years to prepare ourselves for this opportunity. And he gave us the responsibility within the preparation process to help prepare us for this. But like Jeff said, I couldn't be more excited than to work with Jeff. We have a good relationship, and you see it's evident in recruiting. And I think since we've been here over the last 4 years together, that there's no ego involved. And actually, I'm glad that we're co-coordinators because in the areas I may not have the expertise, I know he'll have the expertise, and we'll work together. And like I said, there's no egos involved. We're just happy to be here at our alma mater, representing the guys that we play with. As you said, we started as stretch partners. Then we had some off-the-field business at his house with a particular jet ski I won't elaborate on. But our relationship goes deeper than this situation here. This has been something we've been working on for a long time. We work well together. So I'm excited.
That was Tony Elliott along with Jeff Scott. Didn't realize that Tony was also alongside Jeff in taking the questions from the media today. So there you go. Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott, pro. It sounds like it's a great honeymoon period going on there between them, and they'll have no issues working together as coordinators as long as the plays work. The problem is if, let's just say, things don't work, fans are going to have a hard time knowing who to boo. I guess they'll know that Tony's the one calling the plays, but maybe Jeff's the one writing the plays. Who knows? I guess if things don't go well, they'll split the boos as well as they'll split the cheers if things do go well.
Yeah, but as some people tell you, sometimes you call the wrong play and it works. So play calling is an interesting deal. It'll be interesting to see if they go with a speed up the rhythm with these two. Because I've always thought that in play calling, especially with these fast offenses, if you're going with a no huddle, too many cooks and too many voices in a short amount of time on that play clock can cause you to waste timeouts or get the wrong play in. So it'll be interesting to see how they communicate prior to the snap in order to get the play in quick enough so if there should be a change at the line of scrimmage, they can make it.
Well, they're stepping in at a great time because when Billy Napier took over as offensive coordinator, he had C.J. Spiller and he had Jacoby Ford and he had other weapons at his disposal, and it made for a great one season for him. Then when those guys were gone, I can't remember who the quarterback was back then. Who would that have been? That would have been was that during Kyle Parker's time? Okay, it would have been Kyle Parker. Things didn't go so well, and all of a sudden he's out of a job. Well, these two guys, of course, they're going to have the luxury of Deshaun Watson. They're going to have the luxury of, look at the running backs Clemson will have next year. Wayne Gallman, Tyshawn Dye, Zach Brooks comes back, Choice comes back. They're going to have 4 quality running backs, not to mention all the talent they're going to have at wide receiver and in the slot and guys coming in. So they won't suffer from a lack of talent on the offensive side. Be right back. We are back at Sports Talk here on a Friday night. Phil Kornblut in Myrtle Beach here for the North-South game coming up tomorrow, the Touchstone Energy Bowl. The State Man and the Pro back at our studios in Columbia. 800-956-7266 is our number. More from Clemson coming up. It was a busy day up at Clemson. Hear from Brandon Streeter, who, of course, returns to his alma mater as quarterbacks coach and recruiting coordinator. And also tonight, we'll hear from Coach Brad Brownell. The Tigers are in action on Sunday once again against Auburn. Why are they being punished by playing all these Sunday games? They played last Sunday. They're going to play again this Sunday. I mean, I know you do it for television purposes, but that's just not good for attendance, especially when your students are gone. You keep trying to play against NFL games on Sunday afternoon, and the fact that it is basketball in our state, Sunday afternoon just doesn't really mix, unless you're a great basketball team having a great year, which they aren't. There'll be a lot of empty seats at Littlejohn for the game against Auburn. We do have a state team that is playing tonight, don't we, Pro?
Well, if you can call it playing, it is NC State against Charleston Southern in Raleigh. NC State 29, Southern 8. With about, I think, 5 minutes to go before the half.
Greenville? You say Rob? I'm sorry, Bob in Greenville. Hey, Bob, welcome to Sports Talk tonight. How you doing?
Thank you, sir. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
We are terrific. Thank you for asking.
All right. Phil, I have been sort of out of the loop, except some friends have been calling me and reading these Gamecock sites and so forth. And it sounds like hyperbole that Herman Helms used to write about South Carolina and told so many lies so many times till they came to truth. I do not mind people reporting exactly what I said, but I don't like the added junk that they're adding in there. Now, that said, I would like, if you would please, for you to go down the line and tell me what's happened in the last 24 hours. I know we got a commitment and from the junior college guy, and I know that Key is 50-50 in Georgia, but other than that, what's the truth on the rest of those guys as far as them transferring or not? Considering transferring, whatever's going on.
Well, South Carolina is probably going to have some guys transfer out. Spurrier has said so, but nobody's identified anybody yet. Nobody has come out and said that they're leaving that I can think of. Not since we met with Spurrier last week after the bowl game. Nobody has said anything. But there'll be some guys leaving. There could be a couple of academic casualties as well, but nothing to report. I think tomorrow might be the last day for exams before they break for the holidays. So some grades will be posted soon after that, and we'll know if there are any academic casualties. And I imagine by the time they start practice on Tuesday, we'll know if there are any people transferring out of the program for sure. As far as the recruiting goes, you're up to date. They did lose a junior college commitment, and Key is, as he said, 50-50. Some other guys are still a little bit shaky too, so they're trying to hang on to what they got. Sports Talk here on a Friday night. Good to have you with us, and looking forward to the football game tomorrow. The South Carolina Electric Cooperatives Bowl, the North-South game, the Touchstone Energy Bowl for 2014. We've got 88 of the top players in South Carolina here in Myrtle Beach. They've been working very hard all week long. They had 8 full practices over 4 days. A little bit of a walkthrough today. And we'll see how it goes tomorrow. All-star games are tough to coach in, sometimes tough to play in because it's just there's not enough time to put a team together in terms of being fluid and the repetition needed to run plays properly and the timing and all that. But I think we're going to catch a break with the weather tomorrow. We've got some very good throwers and, in particular, some very good receivers in this game. I think we're going to see the ball a lot in the air, which would mean some big plays and perhaps a lot of excitement, a lot of scoring plays. Also, of course, tomorrow at halftime, it's the naming of Mr. Football in South Carolina, so you want to be sure to be joining us either over the airwaves on our internet feed or here live in person, Doug Shaw Stadium. Looking forward to all that coming down tomorrow. 800-956-7266 is the number. You know, going back to the previous caller, Pro, I know it seems to Gamecock fans right now that the sky is falling because, you know, over the past couple of weeks, what's happened to them? They've lost to Clemson. They get assigned to the bottom bowl of the SEC assignments in Shreveport. And then now they lose a big-time recruit to a decommitment, one of 4 they've lost in the last couple of months. But for different reasons, you know, like Austin Clark. He decommitted because he decided he wanted to stay closer to home and go to Virginia Tech. The most recent one, I don't know. I haven't been able to reach him. I don't know what his thinking was behind decommitting. You would think South Carolina would have been the perfect fit for him in terms of locale and the opportunity for early playing time. The defensive back, Jair Alexander, who decommitted, I think Louisville gives him a chance to play wide receiver right away, and I think that was very important to him. So, you know, they all have their own reasons for doing it. People want to tie it in to Spurrier's comments that he's only coaching 2 or 3 more years. Is that a big factor? Well, it could be with some of these guys. I mean, they want to play for the same guy and the same staff while they're in college. They don't want to go through a coaching change and all of that. That's why I think South Carolina needs to well, we say need. Maybe they don't sense the urgency as much. You know, I don't think Ray Tanner is going to sacrifice the future of the program in terms of the next coach to try and keep a recruit or 2. He's not thinking that way. He's thinking bigger picture than that. You know, we tend to all think of the guy, the recruit, who you're getting and who you might lose. But the administrators, they think bigger picture. He's not going to sacrifice a decision to try to appease some recruit or keep some recruit from decommitting, whatever the case may be. So, but it would behoove them. It would behoove them to perhaps come forward with some sort of a succession plan. Not that they're going to name somebody and say, okay, this guy's definitely going to be the next coach at South Carolina, but it would certainly calm a lot of the nerves of Gamecock fans right now who are a little bit antsy that things are turning, that things in the state are starting to turn Clemson's way, and that the edge that they've had over the last 5 years of the Tigers is about to evaporate.
After one game.
That's all it takes.
Well, that's because
one game and panic sets in.
That's because Gamecock fans, and I've noticed this all the years I've lived in the state, they love to panic. They're used to it. They enjoy it. They embrace it. And in fact, I think they moan and complain with more fervor than they did in their celebration of the 5 wins, to tell you the truth, because I think they enjoy it. They enjoy misery. And let's face it, Paul Chryst probably told his recruits, yeah, I'm going to be here at Pittsburgh for a while, and now he's headed elsewhere. I would think that probably that Riley told his guys, well, I'm at Oregon State. I've been here for so long. I'm not going anywhere, and now he's in Nebraska. Anderson, I'm not leaving Wisconsin. So when everybody says I'm going to be there, nobody's really telling the truth. As you said before in recruiting, if the coaches aren't committed, the players moving around, and that's what you get.
Well, that's why they tell players in recruiting, make your decision based on the school, not the coaches, not the coach, not the assistant coaches. But they don't believe that, and they don't listen to that. A big part of the decision is your comfort level with your position coach and also your recruiting coach. Not so much the head coach, because the head coach has very little exposure with you during recruiting. And then when you're on campus, you don't have that much exposure with the head coach unless he works with your position. Most of your time is with your position coach and maybe somewhat with your recruiting coach. That's where you've got to have that comfort level.
And the relationship that the coaches, the assistants especially, have with the parents. That's a key point.
Absolutely.
Because they develop those relationships.
All right, back to the phones we go, 800-956-7266. Jack in Spartanburg. Good evening, sir. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Thank you, Phil. Did you have an opportunity to read J.C. Sherbert's comments regarding Paris Palmer?
I did.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I read it, I really got upset. I got to figuring out how much money I paid this year to the Gamecock Club, and quite frankly, it was over $6,000. And I'm thinking, we got assistant coaches down there making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year. Got a head coach making $4 million a year, and they don't have time to call this young man. For 2 weeks that he was not contacted. Now, like Pro said, he may be using that as an excuse. However, if they had contacted him, it would have been a lot harder for him to use that as an excuse. There, to me, is no excuse for that staff not staying in contact with that young man. And it irritates the crap out of me, if you want to know the truth. Thank you.
Well, if that information is correct, you're right. There is no excuse for them not staying in touch with a key recruit, junior college or otherwise. I mean, you have to make phone calls. You have to do the social media. And that's not like South Carolina's recruiters not to do their job. I mean, they've done an excellent job in recruiting in recent years. And I read the J.C. Sherbert's report on that. And, of course, now J.C. writes for a Gamecock website. I think he's owner of the Big Spur. I think he's part owner. And so he has a very emotional tie to South Carolina. And I think he gets agitated personally from what I can tell in his reading, what I can tell from his writing that I read. Seems like he gets personally upset about things that happen with the Gamecock program. And so I read his comments, and, I'd feel better about what I was reading if there was some source for it, some identification of where the information came from, other than this person just writing it and expecting us to believe it because he's the one that wrote it. He may be 100% correct. I don't know. It would certainly go against the way South Carolina recruits for that to happen, for a recruiter not to have had contact with a big-time prospect, unless the prospect had told him, hey, coach, don't worry about me. I'm good to go. No need to check on me. No need to. I'm good. Don't worry about me. So if a prospect, and this is what Palmer had been saying through much of the recruiting period, when I had a chance to talk to him, it was always, I'm solid with South Carolina. I'm not considering anybody else, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that he ever threw up a red flag.
Well, that's why I'm saying, I think, here's the deal. We all know that a lot of these players hate to say no to somebody. So in their minds, they have to create that whoever broke up the relationship, it was the other person. It wasn't me. And sometimes, let's face it, that's what happens. It's surprising that a supporter like the gentleman just called would instantly believe what he just read. It may not be true.
football recruiting, just see it on Twitter from scprepnation.com. They've talked with DJ Jones, and he's announcing on Wednesday Florida State, Alabama, Ole Miss. Apparently USC now no longer in his thinking. So DJ Jones, former standout from Wren, committed to Florida State, but Alabama, Ole Miss also waiting on his decision on Wednesdays. That was one that South Carolina did everything they could to land, but to no avail. And again, you know, it just leaves you scratching your head. Now, Clemson didn't do that much with him. But here, you're South Carolina, you're the home state school, and you have a need at the position, and you can come home and play an hour and a half from your home, and your family can see you, even if you're a one-and-done guy. He might just be a one-and-done guy, but he passes on South Carolina. So, you know, you wonder what goes through the mind. Are they not doing a good job in recruiting? Can Deke Adams not recruit? This is a Deke Adams guy, defensive line, junior college guy. Can he not recruit? Are they scared off by Spurrier's future, or the talk about Muschamp, or the talk about Lorenzo Ward, whatever the case may be? These are things that you have to wonder about if you're South Carolina. Richard in Charleston, you're up next here on Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Terrific. Good to have you with us.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm a Tigers fan, first and foremost. I like the way our recruiting class is shaping up, especially with getting Huggins today. What do you see coming down the pipeline? Do you think we're pretty much done with the class we have right now, or do you see any other surprise recruits? Or?
Well, they're just about done. I mean, it looks to me like they're trying to land a corner because they lost Juwan Briscoe, so they've got offers out to the corners right now, and they're still involved with Christian Wilkins up in Connecticut. They'd love to get him, and if everybody else stays on board, I don't know that there's any place else they would look to go to fill out the class.
Yeah, I was pretty upset with Juwan Briscoe leaving. I mean, he's more of a project. I know he had great speed, and he was a late offer. But what do you think about the other corners they have offered?
The most recent ones they have out, well, you know, they've offered a kid that's committed to Virginia Tech out of North Carolina. Now, he's still playing. His team is in the state championship this weekend, talking about Mook Reynolds. Then they've offered a kid in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Kareem Orr, and he is committed to, let's see, which one's committed to Miami? Is he the one that's committed to Miami? No, he decommitted. Let's see, Kareem Orr just recently decommitted from somebody. The other one they offered, Michael Jackson, he's the one that's committed to Miami, but he sounds like one, Michael Jackson, sounds like the one that is, you like that, don't you? You're the only person that's ever I've done that since we started following this guy.
No, it is Michael Jackson, so.
I appreciate you responding to that. Yeah, Kareem Orr decommitted from Louisville. Thank you, State Man. Comments from Michael Jackson, though, he's the one that sounded the strongest in terms of his interest in Clemson right now. And he's been to Clemson several times for camp, so he's very familiar with the place, and they're very familiar with him.
Yeah, and I know we need corners. And speaking of, what do you think about South Carolina's quarterback situation going into next year?
Dreadful right now.
Okay.
Well, I mean, how else could you put it? And listen, Connor Mitch may come out this spring and be a great quarterback. And if that's the case, then I'll change my opinion. But we really haven't seen enough of him to draw a conclusion. When I say dreadful, I say that because, I don't know what they've got at quarterback. So I have to say dreadful. I'd have to say scary. Maybe is a good way to put it. Maybe scary because you don't know what you got at quarterback right now.
I've always said wait and see, because a lot of people will see a kid on 2 or 3 plays, he can't do it, but they'll put their hopes on somebody who's never even set foot on the football field on campus. Oh, that's the guy. That's the one.
That's college football. Time for one more quick call here before we hit the break, Steak Man. Let's go to Mike in Chester. Might carry him over. Mike, you're on the air here on Sports Talk.
Hey, Phil, what's up, man?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm good. I called last week. You was talking about maybe Steve Tannehill coming and coaching Chester. That's they had a meeting. I think yesterday. That's a no-go. They said they didn't want him for some reason. But I'm a lifelong Gamecock fan, and to say hit the panic button. I mean, I can remember the years that we just wanted to win 6 games. We just wanted to go to a bowl. And in the past 5-6 years, we've been in the SEC title talk, and some national championship talk.
Well, you don't want to revert to the old mic. Hang on a second. We'll bring you back up after the break. Just hang on. We'll be right back in a moment to take more of what you got to say. Well, here's a piece of good news for the Gamecocks. We've been talking about some bad things going on. Just heard back from Sherrod Pittman, the linebacker in Jacksonville, who met with Spurrier tonight. He tells me that he is no longer considering visiting Florida. He says he is solid 110% with his commitment to the Gamecocks. He said Spurrier was real great telling him how they're going to use him. So that one seems to be over with and done with. He's an early enrollee, too. Coming off a broken leg, he looks like the kind of guy that could step in and help you out right away at linebacker, though that's not really, with the kind of linebackers they have, that's not really a position of desperation for them going into next season, but I guess you can never have enough. So Sherrod Pitt done, 110%. With South Carolina is how he put it. Back to Mike in Chester. And, Mike, you can pick up where you left off. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of something to feel good about.
Yeah, man. I'm not panicking about the recruiting class. It's still a top 10 class. Even if we lose, a guy here and there, that's not going to kill us. But, the quarterback situation going in the next year, like you said, is dreadful. And with Spurrier's 2 to 3 years that he says he has left, I mean, we don't know if his run's over with, at Carolina, because we don't know what kind of team we'll have next year. So the panic button, I don't like to live in misery, but it's up in the air on what the team will be next year. And 2 or 3 years down the road, we have no clue.
Would you have preferred Spurrier keep that information to himself, the 2 to 3 year plan deal, and just whenever it's time, it's time, and he comes out and says, that's it, I'm done, goodbye, nice knowing you?
That's a hard one. I don't think he should have said 2 to 3 more years. I just think he should have just said, you know, when time comes, that time will come.
Well, let me explain something to you. And I know I'm nitpicking, but this is in the context in which he said it. For years, he had said 4 or 5 more years. And he said, and we go back around, I'll say next year, 4 or 5 more years. He said, now I'm going to start to say 2 to 3 years. He didn't say what 2 or 3 years he was actually going to step down. He didn't say, well, 2 or 3 years I'm gone. He said, that's what I'm going to start to say. Then the next year I'll say 2 to 3 years. That's what he said.
And you also caught him at a bad time with that question, too. I mean, it was right after the South Carolina game. It was what, that Monday after the South Carolina Clemson game? You know, he was down in the dumps, and he was sort of probably speaking somewhat out of frustration, but maybe somewhat out of truth as well. Who knows? If the Gamecocks find some magic in 2015 and beat Georgia again and get off to a great start and contend in the East, he might turn around and say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to coach another 3 or 4 years. I don't feel like hanging it up just yet. Who knows with Spurrier? He says so much off the cuff, and he's such a reactionary person that you never know what he's going to say.
And that's why everybody loves him.
That will do it. Thank you, Pro. Thank you, State Man. And remind everyone, airtime tomorrow for the Touchstone Energy Bowl here on our network will be at 12 o'clock. Look forward to seeing you then. Have a great night, and thanks for being with us here on Sports Talk.